painter, and welcome to take 715 of my first ever YouTube video about my photography. I was only about 15 when I started this, but yeah, been a few outtakes. But anyway, I wanted to do a series of videos documenting a bit about how I do what I do and why I do what I do, the techniques involved, a bit of editing on Lightroom, some stuff out in the woods and different scenes to show you how I make the photographs that I make, really. So yeah, hopefully over the next few weeks I can actually get better at talking to camera, do that stuff that people do and you're out and about, it's all cool, and yeah, it won't be a sort of gibbering mess. But anyway, if you bear with me, I'm sure we'll get better at it, and you might sort of find something interesting, and it might be a bit of a laugh. Who knows? Okay, well, this morning I went out and did a bit of photography in the woods, as per usual. So there's a bit of footage of that, and then we'll come back and we'll edit one of the images that I managed to take. So see you in a sec. So it's a bit of a strange morning. I thought it was going to be a very low contrast, or even no contrast, but now the sun's come out, although I don't think it's going to last very long. But anyway, let's see what we can do. So we're back in the room, and I thought I'd bring up this image that I took. It's a bit of a rotational thing in the woods. This was on the tripod, and there was a bit of rotation and a bit of zoom at the same time, so you get a bit of a spirally thing going on here. Unfortunately, it looked quite blown out, but with the marvels of the modern Sony sensors that I use, this is with the recently purchased, must say, A7R3, which I've only had a few days with, but it's proving to be amazing. So here in the white areas, if I crank the exposure down, it all comes back again. It's amazing. Yeah, so we'll do a bit of that, crank it back down, and I like all this stuff down on the trees, so I thought I was going to crop it square, because that's where the interest is, and then have a go at making something out of this. So yeah, it's quite dark. Also, it's a bit wonky off to one side. Line that up a bit. So we've got that tree. That looks not too bad. And then I was just sort of going to faff around with, not faff around, cunningly engineer some very skillful thing. Yeah, I don't want these light bits to blow out. I mean, they look really cool because they look like little lights poking through the darkness there, but I don't want them to blow out. So it's just a fine-tuning thing of trying to make the brighter bits to be as bright as possible, but without blowing out, obviously, but not destroying that thing where it had those few little cool little bits as well. So might take the brush tool and set that to a little bit of negative exposure and a large feather and a medium-sized brush, and just darken those lighter areas. I know this is sort of counterproductive for what I just said, but then, you know, it's my picture, I can do whatever I want. So there we go. So that's taking care of that. Now maybe I can push a bit more brightness from the whites into this image to get a bit more pop to it, but it's all good. It's going to be a dramatic thing, so I'm not necessarily systematic. I sort of jump around quite a lot because it's a sort of artistic thing, and one thing might lead to another, and so I tend to, well, I'll always start on the basics panel and do some work there, but you know, I'm very much a sort of trier of things, and then just see what happens, see what works, see what doesn't work. I'm just going to whack on a bit of clarity just to bring a bit of definition out in this area down here. And then maybe a bit of a fiddle with the white balance. Obviously there's blue here, which is obviously the sky. And if I crank it goes all horrible. And then cranking it the other way, we could go that way, but going back to where it was, it's quite nice. If I whack up the saturation, it goes all a bit, so we won't do that. And that might be quite nice, taking the blacks quite high up. See, I'm not a traditionalist. As long as it doesn't look over processed to me, I don't mind where the faders are. So I'm not going to worry if I crank it 100% on the blacks or minus 100% on the blacks. If it looks good to me, then that's cool. So I'm going to push the blacks up higher because it just seems to soften the whole thing in a quite a nice way. We could investigate a bit of colour with the split toning in the shadows, maybe putting a bit more blue, just to get a bit more of that sort of blue thing going on, which is quite nice. If I look full screen by pressing F key, oh, it's gone a bit green. So let's pull it back a tiny bit more to the blues. It's quite nice. Oh, there we go. I mean, a lot of this again is quite fine tuning and you know, just fiddling around to see what actually works. But I love this sort of glow here. I'm not sure whether to take a radial filter. Let's have a little go and sort of invert that so I'm working inside the area. Whether to try and push that or not. Whether I lose stuff. What about if I push the shadows? Does that? I don't know. It's not really. Sometimes these things suggest something, and then when you actually do it, you think, no, it just looks like I've put a radial filter on and pushed the thing up. So we won't do that. So yeah, this is looking quite interesting. A bit of a dark, enigmatic sort of thing. Maybe a little bit of a vignette, even to bring us into the center of what's going on. And the cool thing with these massive Sony files is I've cropped in quite heavily, but I've still got, if I go into the library module, I've still got a picture that's 4,200 pixels by 4,200 pixels, so that's pretty big. And you know, so it allows you to go in, and that's one of the reasons I got the cameras, because it just sort of opens up a thing for me that I couldn't do with my A7 II. So I'm adding a little bit, while I'm adding a little bit more exposure there as well to bring up the whole picture. So yeah, that's a little insight. I might go back here while I'm here, add a bit of sharpening. If I zoom in at 100%, you can see sort of thing it's doing. Don't want it all over the place, so a bit of masking. Again, that just adds a bit of, you know, edginess to it, which is quite good. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. Yeah, I might put this on Instagram and see what people think. It's always nice to get some feedback. So on that note, if you like this video and you want to see more, if you click the like button and subscribe, hopefully I will put some more things up, go out on some more shoots, do some stuff, meet some people, and you know, get this thing rolling. Okay, see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.